Hey, good evening. It's really amazing to have you guys here. My name is Daniel, and I was a professional opera singer and beatboxer, and tonight we're going to be reacting to Dimash's rendition of Ave Maria. So I've listened to a myriad of takes on Ave Maria, and some of my favorites could include Rachmaninoff's, Victoria's, Schubert's. So I'm really interested to hear how Dimash tackles it. I expect nothing less than excellence from this performance, especially since this piece is just riddled with so many open vowels and beautiful phrasing like Ave Maria, gratia plena Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus. And it just flows so lovely. And I'm really interested to hear his take on that, alongside how he just molds the musical structure of it. And there's just so many different ways that you can mold this type of music, and knowing Dimash and knowing how abstract he is and unconventional he is in terms of approaching pieces in very modern styles and his own unique style is whole essence of all of these different styles that he's practiced into his own styles. So I'm just really excited to hear how he performs this, and I hope you guys are too. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Chills already. So delicate. With this beautiful silent power under it. It's gorgeous. dynamic control is incredible. That was it? What? What? I was expecting a whole... I was expecting so much more of the song. I didn't even know. That just completely flew by. Wow, that was really incredible. That was just lovely. Even though I didn't get the text, and it was just all sung on a single vowel, you know, I can still find pieces sung on a single vowel very beautiful. Like Rachmaninoff's Vocalese is one of the most beautiful pieces I've ever heard. Fortunately, it was performed from a friend of mine who had one of the most beautiful renditions of it, and I'll never forget it. But she's the one who actually turned me on to music that's just sung on a single vowel but can be structured so beautifully just through phrasing and dynamic and vocal control alone. It's just incredible. And Dimash really held his standard in this piece, where you go into this expecting excellence and he delivers. He delivers. I'm not surprised in the slightest that he delivered on that high standard. So there's a lot that I want to pick apart. So let's just jump into the analysis of it. Right off the bat, straight tone, building an atmosphere. Immediately. Love it. More atmospheric sounds. It's so interesting. Just when you associate composers with their own renditions of Ave Maria, you'll often come across some kind of religious subtext within Ave Maria, because not just because of the lyrics and what Ave Maria represents, but just in terms of the tonal themes musically. If you were to listen to a lot of different composers' takes on it, you just get this very light, very heavenly type of sensation. And throughout this piece, you get a lot more, instead of a heavenly sensation, where you do get that feeling for sure, but I feel like this is it's more structured to be like an epic, or when you just have that percussion come in, and when you have all of these different atmospheric effects that aren't specifically targeted around the choirs behind you singing these beautiful welcome to the pearly gates of heaven kind of sensation. You just have this percussion with the choir, so you still get that heavenly angelic feel, but you also have something more grounding. You have more of Earth's feeling, like the connection between heaven and earth, instead of being in heaven with Maria, with God. And it's just so interesting that he focuses on the tie between heaven and earth, at least what I'm getting from it musically, instead of just the ultimate heavenly feeling that you get from normal renditions of the piece, or what you would expect from typical renditions of the piece. So I really like the fact that he's focusing on a different musical sensation, using this piece as the catalyst for it, and I really appreciate that, honestly. And just looking at him, he's looking around. When you look at an artist look around, you're wondering, well, what are they looking at? What are they engaging themselves in? And the more you look at someone doing their own thing, observing the world around them, that's exactly what the performer is doing. They are observing the world around them, the world that they themselves are building. So you could just see in his performance, not just in his voice, but in his physical body performance, that he's already in his world, and you just need to follow him there. You just need to be guided there with him. Still looking, still engaging. Yeah. Right off the bat, this extremely delicate lyric tone, just very soft, very light, very high. And he actually adds a lot of breath at the beginning before he fully vocalizes. From a classical perspective, you would typically not want to do that, mainly because you would just want to start vocalizing immediately. You can have mental subconscious notes of adding an H before something so you don't add a glottal or add some kind of sound into a phrase, especially if it's very delicate and needs to enter in delicately. But you also don't want to just have breath that isn't vocalized exit immediately. But again, this is Dimash's style. This is what it is that he's trying to build specifically. It is his choice to do so. And honestly, it works for him. I respect it. And his phrasing here is so beautiful. Just... and you just feel this wave-like sensation, this growth and contraction. And it's not anything within the tempo. It's not like he's retarding or accelerating. He's keeping the time of the tempo, but it feels so slow and weighted, even though it's so light and airy, only because he's playing with a very small range of his total dynamic that's going to be explored more throughout the piece. Just controlling the loudness and softness of something, especially when the ambiance that you're creating is already so delicate and gentle and benign. It really is remarkable what he's able to do solely with dynamics and atmosphere. It's quite lovely. More of that breath coming in, building that atmosphere. Something else I like too is these fog effects and the, not just on the screen, but the literal fog effects as well. It really does create that very light, very airy sensation. It, not just in the voice, not just in the music, but in the staging, in everything that goes into making this performance miraculous and otherworldly. And I really love that. I really love it when you go to a performance live and you not only want to see the performer succeed, you want to see the performer succeed in excellence, in the realm of excellence. And when everything just comes together, the lighting, the musicians, the staging, and the performer, him or herself, there's just nothing quite like that kind of blissful experience, really. I will never grow tired of going to live performances. Just beautiful. And I do know that is Igor Krutoy, and I've learned my lesson from last time. Thank you all so much for pointing that out to me. Just, oh, it's so beautiful. And look at his, just look at his body language. It's so open. It's so vulnerable. But like I mentioned earlier, it comes from a position of strength. It's not so much of an audience of lions with him being the pig with an apple in his mouth saying, come eat me. It's more of a, I am a leader. I am guiding you through this cloud airy world that I'm creating for you, and you can follow me. But not only can you follow me, you can trust me, because I am exposing myself to you. I'm being vulnerable to you. Not to say that this is a sign of weakness, but I know how powerful I am to guide you, and I know that I am the one capable of guiding you through this world of my own creation. I love it when musicians just have that level of confidence and just this ultimate presence that just radiates off of them incandescently. I love it. Oh, you hear that vowel change? You go from an ah to an ah. It's very, very minor, but it's a brighter vowel that gives you a little bit more of this, not lighter sensation, but a brighter sensation. Like, originally, it felt very, at least to me, the way I visualized it is when you have these darker vowels, this ah, the way it started, you have more of these cloudy skies and you're just kind of traversing through the mist. And then when you get more of that you get a little bit of the sun piercing right through the clouds. It's still within that very cool, very misty sensation, but now with that very slight vowel modification, you get a new subconscious visual of just a little bit of light piercing through those very cool clouds, that very cool mist. I love it. Oh, and just the way he leads into that. Just constantly in this wave-like motion with his dynamic. It's just wonderful. Yeah, and just the drums I'm sorry I'm pausing so much. Just the drums coming in right there, just it's so grounding because you just get his voice, which is just so airy and light and beautiful, and then you get these drums which are so grounding and down to the earth, which is why I was trying to draw that parallel of heaven and earth versus just this heavenly sensation. So I love the fact that you're feeling just this heaven and earth connection. It's very beautiful, and I love the fact that he's working through this. And I love those attacks. It's not a really powerful, sharp attack, but there's more emphasis on that part of the cadence, and it just adds a little bit more stress, a little bit more, not like physical stress, but it adds more stress to the note. Like, it feels much more like a rising action in terms of storytelling, where you start off very small, so you have plenty of room to grow, and as you're growing, you feel the progressive weight until you reach the climax, and then falling action to resolution. Expertly done. And right there too, he just kept the breath going. He didn't breathe right there, even though it would have been a very natural place to breathe. It's really, really good that he just kept the breath going, because it shows that the entire cadence itself is fully connected. And you really, really want that, because breathing, you have to do it regardless of what you want to do in music. So you have to find very strategic places to breathe. And typically, when you find the end of a cadence, that's a good place to breathe. Or if you need to breathe in the middle of the phrase in order to execute the ending part of a phrase, then you would need to do it there too. But right there, that would have been a reasonable time for him to breathe, but he chose not to, because it ties the cadences together. And you can just focus on executing quick breaths or executing breaths at the very end of cadences before resuming into a new cadence, where it's very expertly planned out in terms of where his breathing is, and I really appreciate that. Not to say that that's a rare technique. All vocalists should be focusing on this type of musical phrasing and structure, and I don't know a single vocalist that doesn't mark in their music where it is that they need to breathe, but his is very apparent as to what it is that he wants to connect and where it is that he's allowing himself to breathe, and I really appreciate that. I'm sorry, but just the way that he's breathing inward as well. He's breathing in on the vowel, because it's because when you breathe in on a vowel, it's much easier to execute on the vowel. It feels like mentally you can correlate your breath on, if I breathe in on a vowel, then I assign that breath to that vowel and execute that vowel. That's typically why when you sing the first word of a phrase, you would want to breathe in the vowel of that first word and then execute it. But since this entire thing is on one vowel, it's much easier for him to breathe in on that vowel and execute that vowel consistently throughout the entirety of the piece, so his brain can better focus on other elements, other smaller, minor elements that just contribute so much to the robustness of the piece. Lovely. Yeah. Oh, so big. There's a joke in the classical singer world where tenors usually stomp when they execute a high note, like vincera, vince kind of thing. But with baritones, it's the baritone claw. It's va, va. And you could just see his claw there. Not to make fun of him, because obviously it's still very beautiful and very just gorgeous all around. And it does add a certain level of embrace this journey we're going on. So I'm not critiquing it in the slightest. I just find it hilarious that no matter what performance or performer you watch, you'll always find a little bit of these musical jokes and references in everybody's performance style. So I love it. Oh, just that trill there. Bum ba da da dum bum ba. Like, let's listen to that again. Or that could have just been his vibrato, but still very beautiful. So this is something that I was always commented on when I was in school, which is actually even beyond school, in my individual lessons after I graduated and forever on, because this was always a problem of mine. And no matter how much I put focus on it, I can never quite get over the habit, unfortunately, which is exactly what Dimash is doing, which is crinkling his eyebrows here. It's so hard to do because when you're trying to build a world, when you're trying to get people into your world, it's all expressed through your music and your eyes. I'm one who likes to believe that your eyes are the gateway into your soul, or whatever it is that you would identify that makes up your character, makes up your values, makes up the entity that is you, not just your physical vessel. And it's so hard to emote that without putting stress in your eyes. And the reason why I was told that is because it contributes to face tension. It contributes to a locking of, not a lot of, but just a certain level of your breath. Because if you feel tension in your body, the breath is going to be restricted, regardless of wherever the tension is. That's why when you see a lot of opera singers specifically performing, you'll usually see their bodies be pretty loose. You'll see a lot of dramatic gestures, but those gestures are done very fluidly. There's not tension in their body. They're just trying to execute what needs to be said for the story's sake. So when you have something a little bit more forceful, a little bit more powerful, like Dimash is executing right here, in order to not just create his world, but to guide you through it, to be fully exposed, it requires a great amount of strength to be able to do that. So what he's doing here, I'm not criticizing in the slightest. I'm just saying that it's something that I was consistently criticized for when I was in school and beyond that. And it is something to keep in mind, just knowing that you aren't feeling that level of tension, or you're not expressing that level of tension. It's more of just making sure that you are feeling the music, you're feeling what it is that you're creating for others, but you're not letting that feeling tense your body in a way that alters your music or alters your sound. So something to keep in mind, but again, love what he's doing still. Just look at how open he is. I mentioned this on Yanaha's video, but when you sing, it's good to imagine yourself like a tripod where your third leg is sticking out from your tailbone. And the idea of it is that you have one leg slightly in front of the other, both legs are slightly bent, and you feel that third leg coming out, so you are as supported as a tripod. And the idea of that is that mentally you're immovable. Like in Avatar The Last Airbender, you are an earthbender. You are firmly planted into the earth. You can feel, every time you take a breath, you can feel the breath not just coming in through your nose and expanding your diaphragm, but it's more like a mental association of the breath comes in from the ground through your feet, invigorates up your legs, expands your diaphragm, and that's the kind of feeling where the breath just completely energizes and charges your entire body every breath you take, which is why you're able to spin it so consistently and well throughout the entirety of whatever it is that you're performing. So the fact that his legs are very far apart shows that there is a good level of support. I would tuck in his legs a little bit more, just in terms of feeling more of that support. But again, I am fully convinced that Dimash completely understands what elements of classical technique he chooses to forfeit in order to create the sound, the environment, and the tone that he wants to give his audience and himself. So I'm not going to criticize it because I'm sure it's an absolute choice of what he's doing. And honestly, just visually, I love this level of openness. It really connects me, an audience member, to him, the artist. And if I'm an audience member seeing a live performance, especially when I'm paying money to see a live performer, I really want to be able to have a very strong and confident connection with the artist on stage, knowing that everything that they're doing is because they want to show me that. It's like watching a film. Everything in the film is finely tuned, it's refined, it's forced perspective, it's seeing what they want you to see. And I'm sure that this is all a conscious choice, and I love it. He did just a completely different thing with his body when he engaged with those higher notes. Yeah, he moved his legs up into a more straight position, which I'm sure is more of a subconscious thing for him, because when you reach that kind of higher level, you want to keep your body more aligned in comparison to that more broad type of sound he was generating before. Even though it was still high, it was still broad. Now we're reaching into more higher, a more elongated type of note, so his body reflects that, which I think is a really cool touch. And you just look inside his mouth, his tongue is resting in his mandible. There's no tongue tension at all, which really exemplifies just how skilled he is at maintaining these notes. It's so great. Nice taper at the end of something so dramatic, that climax. Oh, what incredible dynamic control. And he spins it at the end, too. Like, let's listen to that again. Yeah. While this piece itself wasn't what I was expecting, I have come to know better than to expect anything other than excellence from Dimash. So honestly, Dimash, really great performance. Loved your choices, loved the fact that this entire piece was focused not just on the heavenly connection like this piece is normally associated with, but that heaven and earth connection, feeling grounded yet also feeling very light and airy. I love that sensation, and you did such a wonderful job executing it. Your use of dynamic control, your use of your vowels in terms of going from dark to less dark, and just a tinge of brightness in there, it just added so much ambiance and world building, and you did such a great job leading us through that. So Dimash, I doubt you're watching this, but if you are, excellent execution, really great stuff. I loved watching this performance. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you didn't like it, please leave a dislike and let me know why in the comments. I do read all of the comments, even if I might not hard to reply to all of them. So please know that your comments do not go unnoticed, and I do take them into consideration as I make future videos. Also, an update on what it is that I'm going to be doing later on in this month. I'm going to officially start the live streams to see if that's something that I might want to take with me to do in the future. And I am definitely only going to be doing monthly Q&As. So I feel like just being able to structure videos is a lot easier than doing live streams. But it doesn't mean to say that I'm not going to do live streams. I would still love to hear from all of you live. So we'll see how it goes. Since my audience is very broad though, and I've seen subscribers from all around the world, doing live streams might prove difficult because my best time to live stream might be others' times to sleep. So we'll see how it goes. We'll do some test runs later on in the month. So with that said, I deeply appreciate all of you being here. It really does mean a lot to me, and I can't wait to see all of you in the next video. Have a great rest of your evening, everyone.